going to the less. Live in the hills, but still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel that's a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in at January 31st, 2022, and the stock market is gonna bounce this week. I know some of you are worried if we say that, because then we say that, then we jinx it, but it's not that serious. I don't know what's gonna happen, but there is still gonna be a lot this week. We have an exciting lineup. You're gonna be getting a lot of earnings, a lot less data, and then we really got to see now the follow-up to the Fed, the digestion and all of that. And if you've been watching the videos and we're even on stream last week, we do have an indicator and we do need to talk about it. So we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go over everything that led up into Friday. Remember, we did have a big bounce. All the volatility that we had last week, what we're getting this week, the plays, the earnings, and then everything else you need to watch out for. So before we get started, we need your help. This is the random account generator, and honestly, man, it's the only strategy that has not gotten clapped here. I mean, it's quite phenomenal, but we started this account a couple years ago, $500, and what we ask on this watch list, you post a option trade, strike price, expiration date, all of that, preferably with time, but make sure it is no more than $100, and we're going to do a random comment picker in the morning and then see the performance. So, Chad, keep it up and thank you. And if you find the video helpful or just want to show some love, drop your thumbs up on the video. And if you don't know, Uncle Answers tonight, yes, it comes out. And we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/thestockmarket. We will see you there in the morning. But as far as what you're going to get this week, I know it's going to be shocking to say, but it surprisingly is a chill week compared to what we got last week. So earnings will be the main focus. Again, 100 out of 500 of the S&P 500 companies, they will be reporting. You're going to get a lot of ISM and manufacturing data, but surprisingly, the big economic focus for this week, it is going to be the jobs report. Now, there is a couple of things we need to talk about. I mean, the first thing I will say to understand, we need to talk about relativity, but just understand last week, literally, you saw 3 of the largest intraday market swings in over a decade. So we are still in the middle of peak volatility. But what I'm saying about being chill, I'm just saying, relatively speaking to what you got over the last 2 weeks, essentially, earnings will be the big driver, but you are going to get follow-ups from people in the Fed talking. So over the weekend, we did hear from Raphael Bostic, and he had an interview with the Financial Times, and he kind of clapped the markets, but balanced it out a little bit. He said that a 50 basis point hike, the double hike, is still on the table, but 3 rate hikes is the most likely scenario. We're going to hear from Fed Dolly later this week, but essentially, we are still only a couple days off of this digestion, so we got to be on the lookout for how the market starts taking this. The only thing that will get in the way will be earnings, but like I'm saying, relatively speaking, there will be a lot less catalyst than that week, but we do have to focus on that indicator and the rate hike expectations, the Fed futures. Again, go watch the videos that we posted last week. This is going to be the primary focus. Now, we still are going to have to deal with earnings, and this week, this is not a comprehensive order, but you're going to hear from Facebook, Amazon, Google, GM, Ford, Qualcomm, Sony, Spotify, UBX, XOM, Snapchat, Starbucks, MRK, AMD, Honeywell, PayPal, and Win, and this is not even all of the companies, so this will be the only other news or catalyst that can outweigh anything that we hear from the Fed. So this is going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of earnings plays, and depending on what we get, if it plays out like Friday, you got to realize Apple did very, very good, and this lured a lot of dip buyers or some people looking for protection back into the market. Again, if you remember the first time we had that volatility and then Apple kind of emerged as the winner, it might play out again, and you can see this looks like the market, and this now may look like it's leading it, but we've really got to see with the rest of the earnings. But that's the point here. If we don't get any more negative Fed talk, if the rate hike expectations don't go crazy this week, and a majority of these companies all do good, you should see a lot of at least better attitudes than what we got last week or last month. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting earnings week. Coming into your first pretty picture here, what we got right here is the chart of diesel, and this is a multi-year chart, and you can pretty much see diesel is breaking out of a low. You got people talking about this, and why I'm using this as the pretty picture, just as the cherry on top for this week, oil and energy, it will be a key to watch. There was a big storm that we got over the weekend on the East Coast. You've been hearing a lot of talk about the prices and everything else going on, but then on top of it, we're getting XOM and a lot of oil earnings. You saw a little bit last week, but you're also getting OPEC as well. So keep your eye out for energy. Again, it has been going crazy. We'll even see what happens with some of the companies there for earnings, but the whole energy space is going to be a big one to watch this week because, again, I think it was Friday or Thursday when some of the oil earnings were bad. It really did slow down any sort of upside momentum that the market had for whatever brief period. So keep that in mind. We already went over everything that you're going to need for this week. So coming into the company news and events, this one, I hope it does not play out like it did a couple of weeks ago when JP Morgan did something similar, but there was a report over the weekend. Goldman now expects 5 quarter-point rate hikes this year instead of 4. So again, JP Morgan's a couple weeks ago, they said 4 instead of 3, and then they kept raising it. So if this plays out the same, we'll see what happens. Again, Bostic's comments over the weekend did not help either, but we will see how this gets digested in the morning. And then coming into a deal here, there's a couple of news deals here, but Citrix, they are nearing the sale to Elliott and Vista for about 104 a share. We had that one play on it, I think like last week. That one is going to be clapped if it doesn't come in at a higher value. So keep your eye out for that. Then coming into some baby mama drama, Spotify, they have outlined steps that they will be taking to combat COVID misinformation after all of the Joe Rogan hype. They said they will add an advisory on any podcast that addresses COVID. So if you didn't hear what's been happening, a lot of artists are trying to, okay, like 2 of them, but they're trying to get off of Spotify because of Joe Rogan. It's creating a lot of this, but the company finally responded and they outlined some steps to hopefully stop any more of the exodus or baby mama drama. So there was that, and then a little bit more drama here with Russia and Ukraine. Apparently this weekend, Russia boosted troop levels at the Ukrainian border, but there was also another report about the Olympics kicking off, and Vladimir Putin will be in attendance. So nothing too crazy over the weekend on this. We'll see how it plays out for the rest of the week. Like we said, maybe give it a little bit more time, but this is a very volatile and confusing situation, but it does have the liability to be able to affect the market. So watch out for that. Then Walgreens, they said that they have now kicked off the sales process for the Boots unit. Again, we heard about this pretty decent amount of time ago, but now they got a couple more bidders on the table, and they even said if they're not able to get the amount that they want or even more, an IPO spinoff of the Boots Alliance is on the table. So we will see how that one plays out. Then North Korea, this one was interesting, but they have fired one of their biggest ballistic missiles in almost 5 years. They launched their first long-range rocket since 2017. So we've got a couple of these headlines in the past. I don't know how much they mean on it. We'll see. I mean, back then we kind of would react a little bit, but in this case now it seems like Russia is more of a global risk than North Korea. So we'll see how that one plays out. And then OPEC this week wanted to highlight it. Don't miss out. They will be debating another output increase, but it seems like 400,000 barrels, what they agreed on a couple months ago, that may be the final number. We'll see. And then finally, Netflix co-CEO. He wasn't always co-CEO, but Reed Hastings, he has purchased more than $20 million of shares just days after missing earnings and having the company slide. So a little bit of a show of faith. We love to see that. And then don't forget the Bill Ackman news that you got on Thursday or Friday, but pretty straightforward week. There is a lot on the table. There could be a lot to be hopeful for. At the very least, you're going to get a lot of earnings. We're going to see what the market price is in, and hopefully we get a chill start to February. So I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 or 4 plays that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow. Again, with what we got on the table this week, I'm hoping that it is a lot chiller and easier for options, but we will see what happens. But there is still a couple of plays on the table right there for Monday. But for the rest of the week with this many earnings, there is going to be a a new play every day. You guys know the strategy, so assuming everything isn't too crazy, we are still going to have all of those opportunities. So coming into the first play, it's going to be with what we ended on with the news, Netflix. I like the news there from Reed Hastings, but watch how it holds up after last week. Remember that one day the market was down a lot. They were up 8%. That was after the Ackman news, but essentially, if we get a lot of good earnings this week, if Apple continues to lead, there may be a overall good reaction from tech. I'm going to watch Netflix again, looking at its valuation, even to see Reed Hastings buying in. This is the cheapest that it has been since like 2018, so that is going to be a good driver, especially if some of the sentiment can pick back up. But that is going to be the first play that I'm watching. We do have that old play. It is surprisingly up, or I think it's break even since it expires on the 18th, but we will see what happens with that one. Coming into the second play, I really like this. I was even looking for Chevron on Friday. Again, that was one of the oil companies that reported, but watch XOM and Chevron. Oil is going to be a big focus this week, and like we're saying, with the earnings, it should create some volatility, and that might create some of these double dip opportunities, or even then, if they do drop a lot, like if XOM really gets killed out of earnings, or we see a bad week on earnings, it might even provide one of these long-term deposits. So we'll see what happens with that, but at the very least, I'm going to be looking at it, and I want to see even the lead up coming into the rest of the week, and even watch Chevron to see if they kind of diverge, because Chevron already reported, so XOM may be a little bit more hesitant till the report later this week, but definitely going to be watching them. And then coming into the third play, Tesla, watch for the delayed earnings continuation. So we had those plays, the puts went up, and then after Friday, the puts went back to break even, slightly down. Then I grabbed another call again. I'm playing both ways. I just think that Tesla really hasn't moved much in the middle of all of this, and I know that sounds weird, but I'm going both ways on it. I went for the call play. They went up, but it was very volatile, and essentially, it just hasn't moved too crazy. Even the premiums, they were chilled out from last week in the post-earnings, so I definitely think this is going to be an active one this week. Same logic as Netflix. If a lot of the other earnings do good too, we may see some of the sentiment return, so watch out for them. And then finally, this one might even be my favorite play for the week. It really just depends on how things play out, but Walgreens, I'm gonna watch for a positive effect of the boot news. Again, it is old news, but it could be a good driver. There was a lot of updates on the amount of people bidding, and even with the little IPO spinoff possibility, I think that could be very good. I just want to see, does it hold up kind of with this week? Again, how is the market gonna be? But remember, Walgreens was one of the leaders, and it already had good earnings, so that's one of the things I'm keeping in mind here. But overall, I think they're going to be a good one. I don't think we have any other plays on it, but this is definitely one I'm going to be watching for, but it will get driven a little bit behind what the market is doing, and if they're actually going for defensive, it really depends what we get for the rest of the week. So those are the main plays. As far as everything else, I did make a couple of plays on Friday. I grabbed one of the Tesla calls. I closed out of the MSTR puts. We got about 100% on that. I sold out of a team post-earnings play. It was a day trade flip. We got 100% on that one. And then I had old Intel puts that came back to life that we closed. Other than that, I didn't do much. Actually, there was one. I did grab a Wells Fargo call for April, and this was just if the banks kind of got a little bit more of a boost there after all of the Fed talks, considering they sold out. But the difference is I went for April. Again, got a little bit more time. I grabbed the 57.5s, only grabbed two of them, so essentially they've came back to that level before they had that little safe haven run. So we'll see how it plays out. But the one thing I do want to highlight here, April is where I may start going on a lot of plays. There's a lot of opportunities on the short term. Those can move around a lot. But after seeing such a big drawdown, if we were going to get a big bounce, and there was any bounce that we're going to string together, you're going to want to make sure you get time. So just in case it does go up, you don't want to have one of those where we fully bounce by March or something like that, and then you're right at the money, but then contracts still clap. Now, if it also doesn't bounce, these could still kill you a little bit, but hopefully you get the idea of what I'm saying. But watch out for those. As far as everything else, first play I'm going to be watching is going to be Apple. We still got an old play. Surprisingly, those came down, but I do want to see it this week. Again, what they did with their earnings and even the reaction from Friday, it was very bullish, so watch out for them. Oil's going to be a big one. Chevron already dropped, so keep your eye out for that. I really want to see what Ford does. We'll see if there is a pre-earnings run-up, but either before and especially after, Ford is definitely definitely going to be a big one to watch this week. Even then, I don't think I have it up here, but AMD, they're also reporting, so watch out for that. Amazon, we got a bunch of plays. We're going to see if there is a pre-earnings run-up. Hopefully, we could take care of something or take advantage of it, but watch out for that. We already talked about Netflix, then Boeing. They were down a little bit. The puts started to come back, and this is a key level, but I forgot what it was on Friday. They had a little bit of positive news that they hinted at, but remember, usually a couple days after earnings, management likes to do that, so watch out for them on the upside. Again, Tesla, I think it's at a key level. If you remember, even Netflix's earnings before this one, I think it played out the same. Remember, there was like a big dip or something. I think it was like right here, and then it chilled out for a little bit and came up, so I don't know if they'll do it a little bit faster or not, but watch out for Tesla. Really like that one. Again, Facebook, I think will probably be the biggest moving one, and like I said, watch out for Snapchat as well. Those will be really correlated, and there could be opportunities. And again, NVIDIA, AMD, they just got ravaged. This was one of the worst weeks for chips, or the worst like 2 weeks since March 2020, so keep that in mind. And then finally, UUP and the dollar. We'll see if the dollar breaks out. If it does go any higher from here, that could be one of the danger metrics, but essentially, we need to see what the bonds are going to do, and what we showed you on Friday, that is still in full effect. We will have this on stream like we did on Friday, but this is just going to be the key to watch. Like, pretty much, bond vigilantes are back. The bond market, TLT, it will start signaling a lot, but right now, pretty much, this is going to be our main metric, and I'm assuming it could lead the way if TLT was going to do something, but this is what we're going to watch for, and especially after Bostic's comments, I want to see how this happens. But if you were watching on Friday, I mean, you could see how a lot of the bounce was telegraphed, and pretty much throughout the day, this will be up, and just watch out everything from like July to December, and then the March one, this is going to be the key. But even then, with everything we heard from Goldman and all that, we want to see if some of these longer dated ones, if these start moving, that's going to start indicating more rate hikes or not. But essentially, this may give us like a 10-minute window into how things will play out, but till we see the bonds either break lower or get back up here, it's not saying much, but the dollar is definitely warning a lot. However, you do have a lot of things going on overseas, namely Russia and some of those other factors. So we'll see what happens this week. Earnings will definitely provide some relief. As long as there's no bad digestion or Fed speak, we should start to get off to a good foot for February. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure Hydrate Healthy ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shine. I need you to remember it's how you think about it, not what happens, baby. But the code loves you. All of you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.